Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Terry's Moon. Flight boss, the Archangel Uriel. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I want to talk about the color spectrum. Because I don't think people know how deep the motherfucking color spectrum is. Now, when we looking at color spectrums, or color in general, what you actually seeing is the physical form of vibration. So, what makes you vibrate? Your feelings and emotions. That's how your individual spirit, which is your soul, vibrates within the realm of reality it's in. So whatever realm of reality, aka color spectrums and stars angling each other to create a realm and the spheres, you're receiving that information. And when you receive those lights, because you're constantly receiving, those lights that you receive from the realm that you in start to mix and mingle with your own energy, and then that becomes what you can create and utilize as a source and create forms and bodies with in the rainbow waters, in the shapeless and formless realm. But you see what I'm saying? It's almost like your ability to vibrate, which is resonate with the realm that you're in, with your own soul, aka your own spectrum, right? You get to create a bunch of other spectrums. So this is why when you're highly upset and mad, you see red. This is why when you're in highly pleasurable or blissful moments, you see ramifications of purple. This is why when you in heavy forms of intellect and social and communication, you see forms of blue. So when we look at the terms, these names that we gave to these colors, right? The terms is just the left brain part of it. The logical point of reference that we can point to be like, okay, this represents that. This vibration represents this. So before we get lost into indoctrinations of the word blue and different color spectrums of blue, and we need to understand what does blue mean. And this is what my channel about, because I'm all about the behind the scenes realm. So it's all about what is this shit actually doing? What is this energy actually doing? Not the shape and form and the letters and sigils and signs we give it, and the meanings that we give from another person's spectrum or another person's imagination. What is this energy doing itself? And once we use our common sense, we can all come to an agreement with what is this energy doing in the life that we're all sharing, because we're all in the same life. So for us to be having a whole bunch of different concepts and shit ain't doing none of us no good. And it's just causing separation. Within this is why we got cities, states, countries in general. So for the most part, we need to understand things from a spiritual nature, a behind the scenes realm. Therefore, it don't matter what language we speak, we still know how to come together. So you can get lost somewhere, but still know directions, because you don't need a map. You can look up at the stars. You can know what time it is without knowing what time it is, because you don't need a motherfucking clock anymore. You see what I'm saying? So let's get into this. When we talk about the color spectrum, these are physical forms of vibrations. So wherever you see a heavy emphasis of a specific color, you're seeing a heavy emphasis of an energy migrating in one area. So let's break this down. We're on Earth. Now you need to get out of your mind that Earth is a planet or star or whatever, this, that, and the third. Earth is an area, a space, a location, right? Now Earth itself is an element, but where this element reside at is in a space. So I didn't mean to say that. Earth itself is an element. Same way like you got fire, air, water. Earth is an element. Now, reason why we're calling a platform we're on Earth is because what have accumulated out of that element, and what we can see as far as shape and form out of that element, is something that we can see what we think is reality. So we think that's what we're walking on. So we start to conflate and start to think that this is a globe, or this is flat, or this is that, when really you just need to understand you're in a realm where most of the stars, most of the lights are Earth-like stars. So this realm is ruled by Earth-like element, Earth energy. So when you look at green, right? Look at everywhere you're at. Now green. Now, don't look at it like, okay, it's called green, that's why it's green. No. What is green actually doing? Every time you see green, what energy signature is it carrying? It carries growth. It carries growth, structure, practicality. I don't want to say nature, nurturing, green nurture, and multiply. So when you look at anything that got the shape and form of green, and it got that spectrum, it's carrying a heavy emphasis of growth, structure, and practicality. So when you look at grass, that's all around you. So if the most prominent thing that you see in this realm of reality is green, that's letting you know the realm of reality, the lights that's in this realm of reality is packed with the most information of the earth element. So that lets you know that this realm we in must be ruled by the earth element. So any star that's formulated and giving off that energy is a Earth-like star. So we're in a realm right now ruled by Earth-like stars. Now there's other stars that may have moved here, this, that, and the third, but for the most part, we will see a change in that when we start seeing a change of color spectrums. You see what I'm saying? So this let you know we on Earth now, and we're in the Earth realm. Even when you look at, this is why they made money green. With money, it's carrying the energy signature of growth. So when you have money, you can grow in any aspect that you're in. If you want to learn more about something, you got money, you can grow in that area. If you want to do more with your creativity, if you got money, you can grow in that area. You see what I'm saying? And to get money, it takes some type of structure, aka a job. It takes some type of practicality, aka something that makes sense, and then it takes and growth and nourishment. You have to nourish, care for your seeds to see them grow. You see what I'm saying? In all natures. Now, when you look at blue, right? Anytime you see an area that got blue in it, it's carrying a heavy emphasis of the mental energy and communication and connecting in some way, shape, and form, and connecting within the mind, right? So when you look at social medias, networks, this is why they always use the color blue. So you see things like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. This is dealing more with social. This is why YouTube is not majorly blue, because YouTube is more about video. So it's not solely dependent on social. Same way Snapchat. Snapchat is yellow. It's not heavily dependent on social. You know, it's more dependent on pictures and small videos of things of people in their happy moments. And we're going to get to yellow too, but let's get to blue. Now when you look at things in nature or the life that you are in, that you see carrying a heavy emphasis of blue, what you look at, the sky carrying a heavy emphasis of blue. That means there's a heavy emphasis of the energy, of mental energy migrating in that area. So there's a lot of mental connection going on in the sky, a lot of flying, a lot of interconnection, a lot of mental loops, a lot of thought forms, a lot of concepts being, and a lot of social connecting outside of the physical being in that area, in this realm, as far as us. So that's where you see blue. Now, when you look at water is, you see water reflecting the color blue way better than any other color. You see what I'm saying? What does water do? Water connects. Water absorbs. You see what I'm saying? Water is a part of. So when you think of the energy of being a part of, that's the energy of connecting, non-separation. So this what makes water signs emotional, but not to get lost in science, but just to talk about the elements. So when you see heavy emphasis of blue, you see that's a heavy emphasis of connection in some way, and internal connection as far as mentally or emotionally, but connecting, and as far as socially connecting it, whether you're spiritually speaking with someone, which is mysticism, or you're verbally connecting with someone, and that'd be the physical forms you see of blue. But the lighter the blue get, the more faint that it is, the more less dense. So when you see the sky, it's light blue. So we're connecting up there more on a mental language level up there. You get what I'm saying? Now, when we get to red, red represents aggression and transformation and movement. So anytime you see a heavy emphasis of red somewhere, it's things moving, or heavy emphasis of transformation. So when you even look at bright red, or you look at a lot of red, you get the attention of it, right? Why do you get the attention of it? If you're in a realm full of receiving, right, the things that get your attention is always going to be something that's moving. If something not moving, it's not going to get your attention. So that's the energy behind it. So when you look at red, that's what red represents. It represents pushing, button pushing, or it represents movement or transformation, right? So anytime you see red, so this is why scientists even see red spectrums all the time, or what they call that, red shifts, right? And this is how they calculate what? The movement of what? Something that they're trying to track, whether it's a celestial body or whatever like that. This is why they created infrared. Even if scientists don't know why they created infrared, I'm Archangel Uriel. I'm telling you right now. So before you spend 20 years in college trying to figure out what an archangel is telling you right now, I'm saving you the trouble. You see what I'm saying? So when the reason why they created systems, and the reason why that system had to align with the color red, is because that's the frequency vibration that red carries in general. So you always going to see scatters of movement. So since so much shit is moving in the realm of reality you in, it gets scattered. So it kind of gets blended in the behind the scenes realm. So it has to be for you to even see something red, it has to be vibrating very high. It has to be very concentrated. So think about when you're angry. That's very concentrated energy. So when you got on a lot of red, you're going to get paid attention to, because you got on a color that represents movement in some way, shape, or form. But you got on a whole bunch of concentrated movement energy, and it just appeared to look like what it looked. And y'all named it red. You see what I'm saying? See, when you get in the spirit, you don't need words to understand certain shit. You just know what it is first, then can't nobody tell you what it is. So if somebody came up to you and said, man, the motherfucking sky is blue, you tell that motherfucker, and you look at that motherfucker like that nigga is lying. Because the reason why they telling you it's blue is a motherfucking lie to begin with. That's when you could put them up on game and you tell them why it's blue. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, and the person who even made up the color blue don't even know this shit. So when you talk about red, red represents movement, transformation. So anytime we need to track something now, since there's so much stuff moving in our realm of reality, from particles, gases, and shit like that, the red can get very faint, right? So for the most part, we have to create things that can concentrate that faintness. So that's where we get infrared from, or the red shift, for us so we can track celestial movements, or we can track movements at all. This is why when you look at someone's body temperature with the radiation glasses, or whatever y'all motherfuckers want to call whatever shit y'all be coming up with here, I'm just telling you where the shit came from. When y'all put on those goggles to see somebody's temperature or to see someone's movement or something like that, this is why it's red. And the more cooled down a person is, the more lighter that red becomes, and more it becomes pink. You know what I'm saying? Now, all scientists know exactly what I'm talking about, even if I'm not talking in their language, speaking their kind of lingo. You see what I'm saying? This is what we talking about, common sense. So that's red, and that's why we came up with infrared and red shift and shit like that, so we can put in these machines, so we can actually track these movements and shit like that. Now, And anger means transformation, means something needs to change. So anytime you even become angry or become aggressive, it's because you're in some type of bondage, or behind some type of obstacle, or some person, place, or thing is playing as something that's preventing you from doing something that you truly want to do. So, or preventing you from doing, or making you do something you don't want to do. So that's where the development of the energy of transformation come from. And once you give a lot of energy to that, it becomes more dense and becomes more visual, to the point that, that energy is going on here so much it's faint, But when you put a lot of energy into yourself, you end up being the only one that see red. You see what I'm saying? But we know what that color spectrum represent. So this is why we make up crayons and shit with that shit. So now when you think about yellow represents happiness. You know what I'm saying? Happiness. You know, and that's just really all it is. It's really just happy, because happiness is enlightenment. So think about all the times you got enlightened about something. You felt happy. You felt like you overcame something. So when we look at the sun always, well, based upon this realm of reality, how y'all like to look at stuff, it always like to rise. But really, it's just that element rising above earth-like things. So since we're in a realm that's ruled by earth-lights, right? When we look at the sun, to us, it's going to be manifested in our brain of concepts of the sun rising. But really what that sun is doing is just having an energy signature of rising above earth-like things, rising above Lord-like natures, or the nature that it's in. And ain't no natures in space higher or lower relative to them, but based upon the perspective and what's relative to us, if earth was here and the sun gonna be here, that's a perspective to us as something being out of its lower nature. So the sun itself represents that, some enlightenment. So when you look at light, don't look at light as the color spectrum you're seeing. Look at light as something, as it being light in weight. So something being able to float in the water, not sink in the water, rainbow waters. You see what I'm saying? So the lighter form, the lighter body your spirit can take, the more you can float and rise and swim around in this motherfucking rainbow waters. But the more you could get washed up by waves and go through other people's flows too, who heavier, and they create waves based upon their density, and they all sinking and dragging a bunch of followers with them. That's a whole nother motherfucking video. But we want to talk about colors right now in the motherfucking vibrational realm. So for the most part, when you want to speak upon yellow, that's what yellow represents. So this is why you see the sun yellow in the morning, but and then you start. But when you see the sun moving, so when you see in the morning the sun bright yellow, but anytime you see the sun moving, like when it's rising or setting, you're gonna get that orangey kind of look. Why is that? Because the sun is moving. What is the sun doing? Moving, transforming, transporting. So that's when it's utilizing its red energy. So when red and yellow comes together, you get this kind of orangey nature, orange nature. So this is happiness moving, happiness needing to be expressed. You know what I'm saying? Happy. So this is why the sun rules Leo when the sun is in the highest spot. You know what I'm saying? When the sun loves to be at home in Leo. You see what I'm saying? So, and the sun gets to shine in the 10th house, which is Capricorn, in its highest spot. But Capricorn is below, so that's letting you know the highest spot here is some down shit. But that's a whole nother video. But you know, when we talking about the color spectrums, you got to know the energy. It's an energy vibration. It's a feeling. It is not a shape and form until we start giving it logical shapes and forms with our left brain, and we start to get lost in our dreams. But remember, we don't know what the fuck these things are. They're just experiences. So once you just spiritually experience it, you know what the experience is. So whatever name other people trying to give it, you're able to decipher it like me. You see what I'm saying? So when we talk about yellow, that's what yellow represents. But when yellow starts to move, it become orange. Now when yellow is not getting attention, when happiness is not being served and it feels like it needs to move, aka add red to it in order to move, it can become aggressive. It can become attention seeking. It can become center stage, because everybody looking at this happiness, but everybody looking at it is being forced on the others with a red shift. So this is why, you know, the sun got all this religious text to it and things of that nature. And Ra and Amen Ra, which is Amen is the spirit behind it, was the unseen realm, which is controlling Ra. And that's a different video and shit like that. But just understand the frequency vibrations of, you know, energies. And yellow, that represents happiness. So when you even look at Snapchat and everything that's yellow here, you wearing a yellow shirt, look at the Lakers. It represents the Lakers. Why did they come up with yellow? Where's they at? They in Los Angeles. What is Los Angeles? A motherfucking sunny ass place to be. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the moon transition there. So it's almost like an orangey type of area. You know what I'm saying? Based upon its location. New York would be the opposite of that. Would be a lot more colder. But you know, that's how you correlate frequency vibrations. Even when you look at Snapchat, Snapchat is for people to snap their happy moments. You don't see people on Snapchat talking about depressing moments. And then if you is on Snapchat seeing somebody talk about depressing moments, they probably feel upset even when they do that. It might be something they willing to delete, but they don't care because it's going to delete itself anyway. You know what I'm saying? It don't hold on to shit. You know, so that's like Snapchat, and basically, and it's just there for a few seconds, for a few moments, then it move along, just like the sun. It's carrying that energy. It's not no sustaining energy. It's something new every day. So that Snapchat, when you look at it, once you put something up, it leaves after what? 24 hours. Then you have to put up something new. What was gone yesterday doesn't stay up there for people to attach to it, because there's no blue energy in Snapchat. Now, the moment Snapchat come up with shit that you can look at your past videos and shit like that, that little settings gonna be dealing with a lot of blue, gonna be dealing with a lot of the color blue. But until then, you just gonna get some newness every day, 24-hour type shit with Snapchat, because it's backed and supported by the frequency color of yellow. You see what I'm saying? Now, see, when we get to the mixture of colors, we have to mix energies. That's like purple. Purple represents pleasant, purple and pink. Now, pink represents the faintness of it. So it's almost like the baby version of purple. It's like purple is the dense, brought into reality pleasures and you know what I'm saying, and royalty and pleasures and prosperity feeling. Pink is the faint one. It's like that's a pleasure of yours, but it's not brought into this realm of reality yet. You see what I'm saying? So you could correlate that with so much shit. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, this like a girl's thing, a pussy is a pink, right? So that's the first part of it. That's the idea. But once you start to have sex, the things that get created in it start to get dark and purplish. You know what I'm saying? Like your inner organs and shit like that, and purplish. So when we looking at motherfucking purple is the joining of red and blue, which is blue represents connectiveness and social and mental ability. Red represents transformation and movement. So social gets to move. Purple is when your mental and what you're creating, your imagination, gets to be transformed and gets to move, gets to be experienced. And when that comes together, that creates pleasurable moments. It's almost like blue is left brain, red is right brain, and when you bring them together, that create the male and female trait to come together, which is your male and female energies. And when they came together, they create blood cells and shit like that. And then your blood cell spirits can inhabit those and become genders and shit like that. And based upon what more energy they resonate with before they become physical. But you know, at the same time, you know, the spectrum of purple represents royalty, pleasantness, pleasures. And the only time you ever in your pleasures is when you're able to experience something that one of your imaginations that you creatively wanted to experience. You see what I'm saying? That's it. That's all. That's blue and red coming together. Something in the mental, blue, that you want to connect, and red, transform it and move it into and will it into an existence. See what I'm saying? So when you see it, it's the color spectrum of purple. So, but it's so faint because when we're doing a bunch of that here now, it's so faint. It's not what you're majorly seeing. Because when you see a heavy emphasis of something in nature with a specific color, that means it's a heavy emphasis of that energy migrating in that area. So for an example, you're always going to see green, but let's say you see bushes that's green, but purple leaves grow on it and shit like that. That's the feeling and the emotions that the sun is giving off at the time, wherever the sun is traveling, and the other light spectrums is traveling in at the time. You see what I'm saying? And the mix and mingling of those colors is the vibration that is able to grow in this earth realms. And since the earth realm is green, the things that grow off of it is offsprings. You get what I'm saying? So for the most, even when you want to talk about brown represents the root of something, the cause of something. It's like the root. The density of something, but the faint density of something. Because what y'all think is dark or what y'all think is black is just another light. Y'all think something being dark, like when it's dark outside, or the sky is black. No, these are two separate things. Darkness and brightness and black and yellow are two different things. Light and darkness are not opposites. You see what I'm saying? Brightness and darkness are opposites. They're two opposite of the same spectrum. Brightness has nothing to do with light. There's certain things in light that can give off brightness just in this realm of reality. But light is something totally different. Light plays out differently in every different realm of reality. Fire plays out differently in every different realm of reality. Water plays out differently. Now, fire in this realm of reality, fire brings with it light and shit like that because it's just bouncing off the elements that it's in. So fire looks more like electricity in different realms of reality. So when you bring fire here, when it starts to relate to the elements that's here in this realm, what you're just seeing is whatever fire is relating to the elements around. So what you're actually seeing, what we call fire, that's not fire. This flame, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a flame. And a flame is nothing but a chemical being exhausted. Now this chemical that's being exhausted is like air, earth, the shit that's in the air and the earth, and it's being burnt by whatever fire is. But that right there ain't fire. Whatever fire is burning and causing a flame. But that itself ain't fire. Do you get it? You get what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Fire itself ain't the flame. The flame is with the interactions that's happening when the fire is interacting with earth and air and shit. So the elements that they giving off is like light. You got yellow, you got blue there, so you got connectiveness, which is blue. You see what I'm saying? You got yellow, so yellow gives off, there's certain elements in yellow that gives off brightness. There's certain elements in yellow that gives off light. You see what I'm saying? You got orange. So orange, what was orange? Orange is adding red. What was red, right? Movement, transforming. Right? So what? That's why it's orange in there. So we got a lot of different informations that got its own worlds within this one world. But to say that this one world is fire, you're wrong. Do you get it? You see what I'm saying? This shit is deep when y'all want to talk about y'all colors and shit. This shit is motherfucking deep. So brown represents the root, the density, down, the womb. Something got to go in. So it's almost like the cause. So something that's brown is more like a faint black. So it's not totally black. It's like an offspring of black. So it's like what's next from that almost. So purple, pleasure, and brown. Purple, brown, and green are the most powerful colors in this realm of reality. And an honorable mention, dark blue. Dark blue. Because that's like deep water. So that's deep connection. So it's not light blue and faint almost to it came externally to we can see it. It's dark blue almost to its organ-like. It's inside to the point that dark blue really don't exist. There's really no such thing as midnight or dark blue. But we can kind of create crayons on it. But dark blue means deep connection. You know what I'm saying? Deep connection. So this shit is motherfucking deep. So, you know, fucking purple and brown and green is the most powerful colors here. Audible mentioned dark blue. But you know what I'm saying? The lighter the color is, the more faint the signature is. The darker it is, the more density it is. But then we have to get into specific ones to know which ones is carrying out certain energy signatures. So anytime you see something that's dealing with brown, you're dealing with the root of something, the cause of something, in order for something to grow. We know green grow out of that. So we know the earth element was fucking around with the earth element was fucking around in their color spectrum. Brown was fucking with purple, and both of them created green. So whatever you see in any remery, in anything in this life that's dealing with purple and brown, they are creators of a lot of shit in this realm. You see what I'm saying? Because they created they created what you physically see as the earth realm today, which is the green spectrum. See, it's hard to dive that deep. You probably thinking like, man, I can't go mix brown and go mix purple together and it make green. But green and purple came together and green came out of that. I mean, purple and brown came together and green came out of that. See what I'm saying? You got to think about it. It's from color spectrum from black. Now, black is the womb. So if you see dirt anywhere, you know dirt is in a womb. So if you want to think about it, dirt in general is a seed itself. Dirt, all the dirt of the land together, packed together, is a seed. Is a seed that's in a black womb. You see what I'm saying? And then everything blossom out of the seed in that womb. This shit is fucking deep when you really understand color frequencies. For real. You can get to life in so many different motherfucking scenarios. You can learn from everything. Don't let nobody tell you you can't learn from everything. You can learn from everything. Because if that was the case, there would be no teachings out here for you to go have to learn. That somebody else then came up with based upon them observing the world that they are in. You know, and I could talk about this all day. We could go to every motherfucking color. Every fucking shade. So I'm gonna make a fucking part 2. But I gotta go back in and finish all these fucking NATO requests, all my NATO requests. Oh goddamn, motherfucker, flight bus, air.